Awesome. Welcome everybody. Tonight we have EverRise token, the AMA. We have TJ with us, Waso and Jen. So this came across our desk, a very interesting project, doing a lot in the DeFi space. Before we get started, I want to introduce the team. So we have, again, TJ, Waso, and Jen on the call. If we can start, guys, just by maybe a quick introduction of who you are, what you've done in the space. Then after that, we can move into a high-level presentation over the actual project. So Waso, I'll call you out first, my friend. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name's Waso. My background's really in like business development. I've worked for two Fortune 500 companies as a business development lead and a sales manager. I've been an avid crypto investor since maybe like 2016. My first project I worked on was Hoj earlier this year. I was the head of business development there, and I got to work with a great group of bunch, and we grew that project quite a bit. I moved over to EverRise in the early summer of this year. Really fascinated by the utility and the products that are being built here. But that's a little bit about myself.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Jen, you want to go, or should I?
Sure. I'm happy to take it. So my name is Jen, and I'm the director of marketing over here at EverRise. What's really interesting is my background's actually primarily in brand development and content production, and I've been able to work on a lot of campaigns, marketing campaigns for companies like Google, Samsung, Vice, just doing content campaigns with them, whether that was in an immersive video format or if it was a digital campaign. I have been around crypto since about 2016, but recently got back into the DeFi space earlier this year. And yeah, that's a little overview about me. TJ, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, awesome. I'm TJ. I'm the director of communications at EverRise. My history and background in crypto, I've been in the space for, I would say, since 2017, not like crazy like I am now. I really got exposed to it when I started my first project, which is called Rich City, which is a NFT game, which is in development. The demo of it's actually out now. But, amongst that, I saw a need for more than just creating a game. So long story short, branched out, got into EverRise, and now we're making security solutions for the entire blockchain, which we're looking forward to tell you about.
Really cool. Yeah. I'm actually looking at the website right now. And for those of you on the call, I've dropped it into the chat here. So if you want, you can go take a look. And I'm just, wrapping my head around this entire ecosystem. It's very impressive. When did you guys actually launch?
So we
launched.
Yeah, we're all going at once. June 15th. Yeah.
June 15th. Okay. Yeah. This amount of time, looking at everything that you've accomplished since, really the inception of the project, just looking at the website, all the functionality, really the utility of the entire project is impressive. So yeah, I want to learn more. Please, if you can, tell us, starting with the token, and the actual EverRise token, and then maybe moving into that overall ecosystem at a high level, explaining that to us would be super awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. I'll take it from here. So I'll give you like a little intro to Rise version 1, then I'll go into Rise version 2, and then I'll touch on the ecosystem made up of a suite of dApps. So when we launched V1, we were the first buyback token. So this is a function that's very common now, right? We created the ability for a smart contract to buy back a certain amount. This is like a commonly used tactic within the stock market. A company will go, they'll purchase the stock on the open market, and it'll send like this general sentiment of confidence. And of course, the shareholders will be happy as the price increases. So we wanted to bring that into the crypto space. And we did that. Since then, we've been forked literally like well over 2,000 times of smart contracts, both on the ETH, BSC, Poly, Avalanche, Kronos now have all taken this function and adopted it within their smart contracts. That in itself is really just it's a tokenomics. It's not really utility. So we started to look at the space and kind of see what's going on. We saw a lot of scams, rug pulls, hard liquidity drains, which would be just like a stop trading, take all the money. We've also seen like slow rug pulls, which is like stealing the newly generated LP tokens. So there's a lot of like nonsense, a lot of like misbehavior we saw. So we wanted to kind of create, tools that would, enable, honest developers and protect, investors and allow communities to thrive. So the first thing we did was we decided to launch a version 2 contract. When we launched our V1 contract, we were botted. So a lot of people were kind of figuring out how the buyback worked, and they were taking advantage of it. And we had to turn it into a manual buyback. So basically what that means is our developer would trigger, when to buy back. And he would do it like after a big whale sell-off, or if there's like, if Bitcoin was tumbling 10% that day, we would try and, buy back the rise. So we decided that we wanted this to be an automatic process. We also had we were a like hyper deflationary token where we had a burn mechanism on version 1. We wanted to move to a fixed supply in version 2. So what we did was we created in V2 a staking pool, where users are able to stake their rise, and anytime a buyback happens, those tokens that are bought back are sent to the staking pool as rewards for the holders that are staking. We also launched on 3 chains with equal liquidity. So now we are on Ethereum, the Binance Smart Chain, and the Polygon mainnet with equal LP, roughly around, I think it's like $3 million on each chain. Our current tokenomics, what they look like is a 6% transaction fee. 4% goes directly to the buyback wallet that goes to the stakers, and 2% is our project sustainability wallet that funds, everything from marketing to, development to website costs, etc. A little bit into our suite of dApps. So I'll go through the 4 dApps that are live and then the 4 that are in development. The first one, which is really what EverRise got a name for in terms of our suite of dApps, is EverOwn. EverOwn is the only community voting smart contract locker on the market. So typically smart contracts are held in several places. They're either held in a single dev wallet, in a multi-sig wallet, or occasionally they'll be in a time lock. And a lot of new people coming into this space don't understand that the smart contract is literally everything. A developer who has control of the smart contract ultimately has control of the entire project. So we wanted to take that control and that risk, really that privileged centralization risk, and put it in the hands of the community. So we created a locker where the developer can come, lock their smart contract. Anytime they want to claim it, they come back, they click the reclaim button, at which an instant snapshot will be taken of all of that token's wallet holders and their weighted values, and a vote begins. The developer would let his community know that a vote has begun. EverRise will also announce that, a vote has begun, and those holders will come to the EverRise site, go to the EverOwn dApp, Wallet Connect, and cast their vote. And at the end of the voting period, if it's a majority vote, it's based on DAO, which is decentralized autonomous organizational methodology, which is basically means that, the vote is not by wallet, it's based on weighted tokens. If it's over 50%, the locker unlocks and the developer can reclaim the contract. Also, all newly generated liquidity tokens go to the smart contract owner's address. So if a contract is in EverOwn, they're able to lock the newly generated liquidity tokens, and a separate LP vote needs to be conducted if the developer ever wants to withdraw any of that LP. An example would be like if they want to go on a new exchange or bridge to another chain. That's really EverOwn in a nutshell. From there, I'll move on to our next dApp, which is EverBridge. EverBridge is a very unique bridging system that we've developed. Typically, bridges consists of burning a token on one chain, cross-chaining, and then minting a new token on the other side. What we've developed are lockers on both sides of the bridge. So as I send a token, let's say from Binance to Ethereum, it'll go from my BSC wallet, it'll go into the locker on the BSC chain, it'll get locked. A signal will be sent to the other side to the Ethereum locker. It'll unlock the exact same amount of tokens and send them to the desired address. So what we're doing here is two things. One, we're reducing the transaction time because we're not burning and minting. And we're also reducing the gas fees because, again, we're not burning and minting. Our third product is EverMigrate. So when we migrated from our version 1 to our version 2 contract, we looked at solutions that were out there for migration, and there weren't many. The only ones were really kind of like airdrops, where you would go to one of these airdrop teams and, you know, tell them, give them an Excel sheet, which could be like changed. There was just so many risks to it. So we decided to create a dApp called EverMigrate, where in a single transaction, a user can come, connect his wallet with the old tokens, and select the wallet that they want to receive the new tokens. They're able to switch the wallet address if they want to, you know, go to a hard wallet, for example, and it's all wrapped in a single transaction for, you know, transparency. The users do pay the gas fees, but outside of the users paying the gas fees, you know, the product is extremely seamless. We've migrated 97% of our total supply in a matter of 2 weeks, and that's, you know, that was 105,000 holders. Our fourth dApp is EverStake. This is the staking dApp that I mentioned. Users have the ability to stake between 1 to 12 months. Did you say something, John?
No, I'm sorry. If I go on mute, it cancels me out, and my dog just came downstairs and was
it's all
whining.
good.
My bad.
It's all good. So EverStake is a staking dApp where users have the ability to stake between 1 and 12 months. If you stake 12 months, you get, you know, 12 times the rewards you would if you stake 1 month had you staked the equivalent amount. The reward tokens that you receive for staking are not locked. However, if you do choose to withdraw your stake early, there are fees, but those fees go right back to the staking pool. None of them go back to, you know, the project team or anything like that. So those are our 4 products that are currently live, you know, available for adoption. You know, the Rise users, I think we have 46% of our total supply that's staked for an average term, I think, of like 9 months, which is pretty insane. I haven't heard of too many projects that have that type of, you know, high staked percentage for that duration. And then our 4 products that are in development. The first is EverWallet. This is a more secure wallet than your traditional DeFi wallets that exist, like a MetaMask or a Trust Wallet, for example. Basically, the way this is going to work is we're not looking to replace EverWallet. Excuse me, we're not looking to replace Trust Wallet or MetaMask, but rather, you know, you would work with them. So a user, let's say my tokens are in MetaMask, I would go to the EverWallet, I would send my tokens into EverWallet, and they would be secured there. For me to access EverWallet, I need to, 1, have access to my MetaMask, and then 2, have an additional password for EverWallet and 2FA if it's enabled. So the idea here is if my seed phrase gets compromised on my MetaMask, that my token still can't be taken unless, you know, the hacker has access to my EverWallet password and my 2FA. So we're basically adding an additional layer of security to your traditional DeFi wallets. The second dApp that's in development is EverSwap. This product is, you know, nothing more than an integration to the dexes that we're on, which will give the users the ability to swap directly from EverWallet. Next is EverSale, which is going to be our launch pad. What's unique here is we're not going to take any tokens from the project teams. Every launch pad that exists now, whether it's BSC pad, Pink Sale, DX Sale, they all take a percentage of the token supply from the project teams. And we don't really like that. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why would we take a percentage of a project supply and then like sell on them later? So the idea is we're going to charge a flat fee for our pre-sale platform. And then we're going to have Everlock, which is the final dApp in development. This is a initial liquidity locker that is based on community voting as well. So when you invest in a pre-sale, you'll know exactly how much of your investment, let's say it's 1 ETH, is going to go to the liquidity. So you'll know if I contribute 1 ETH to this project, okay, 50% of it is going to go to liquidity. That's going to be locked in Everlock. And, I'm going to be able to vote on any, movement on that liquidity in the future. That's really our suite of products in a nutshell. We really try to, build with 2 goals in mind. 1, empower honest developers, and 2, protect investors.
Thank you for that. Very, very intuitive. And I guess my first question would be for you, what are you not doing in the space, right? This is so much, and it's very attractive to investors, but you're also attractive to, potential projects that could be coming out, right? So, having that multi-attraction in terms of the demographics that you can reach, to me, puts you in a good leverage position amongst the industry. So as of right now, how many current holders, are holding this token right now? Let's just say on the Ethereum platform.
I
Jen, do
believe
you have
on
access to those
ETH,
numbers?
Ethereum side, we have only 615 holders. So we were primarily a BSC token, and we are really looking to bridge the gap that is essentially between the Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum. So we're starting to ramp up our Ethereum promotion because all of our dApps are going to be compatible on all chains. So as we continue to grow, Everone will be available to projects on Chronos and Avalanche, etc. So the Ethereum side came with V2, which was launched on November 23rd.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, because I'm looking at everything and I was trying to put, it all together. So in terms of EverRise, the actual team, like how do you guys actually make money on this and are paid?
Yep. So there's a
so we have 2 ways right now in which we make revenue. The first way is through the token. So as Waso was talking about our tokenomics, there is a 2% what we call a project sustainability tax, and that 2% gets utilized for further development on the dApps, as well as marketing and all operational costs. And then the second way we get revenue in is through the dApps. So each dApp has an enrollment fee and a required rise holding. And what we do with the revenue there is, some of it goes into project development, and sometimes we're still figuring out some of the systems of how we want to funnel the dApps money. But when we were on the V1 contract, a portion of the revenue created from the dApps also went into the buyback wallets.
Got it. And see, that's kind of where I was going with that question was with the dApps, right? Like obviously those are going to generate, a lot of revenue. So the allocation of that, I didn't know if maybe this would be multiple, because when I look at this, I just see multiple streams of revenue, right? You have EverOwn, EverBridge, EverMigrate, EverStake, the list goes on. So, that's multiple streams of revenue. In my eyes, that could potentially be feeding back to the LP, or as you say, maybe a buyback wallet. Have you strategized maybe overfeeding some of these back to the LP to help with price impact?
Honestly, what we're doing right now is taking a step back and looking at, the regulations that are coming. So it's something that our team has taken into account as we figure out how to divert revenue streams. But the ultimate goal for us is to eventually remove the project sustainability tax from our tokenomics on the token and allow for the company to just thrive off of the revenue from the dApps. So until we get to that point where we're able to remove the project sustainability tax, it's something that we're taking our time and figuring out, because we need to make sure that the business model makes sense for the longevity of the company.
Absolutely. And at the same time, you need to, have capital in the war chest to deploy in times that you need it or in things that you need to accomplish. So that's, good that you're taking that approach. And so I really, I'm really just to be candid with you, I'm blown away with the project. So you have 4 of these dApps that are currently in development. You're very early, it seems like, with 600 holders. What does the plans look?
Sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
Taylor, just to clarify, the 600 holders, that's on Ethereum. On Polygon, we have about a little over 1,400 holders, and on Binance Smart Chain, we have over 55,000 holders. So not just 600 holders across the board. I just wanted to make sure we clarified that point.
I was licking my lips over here. 600 holders. You have, this much tech that's going into it. I'm, gearing up to really ape in. But yeah, I'm also an Ethereum guy at the same time. I have a team member here on the call, loves Matic, promotes it all the time. So we do explore other chains with the Angels. So the fact that you are on multiple chains, that is, going to be an attraction just off the top for us as we love to explore. But it sounds like your major following is really on the BSC side, correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. And then in terms of these chains working together, how does that work, right? Can you just explain it for maybe a simple investor and how these all, because they're all separate, right? But at the end of the day, do they work together and how?
Yeah, so what's really unique about how we went to all three blockchains is we actually have a shared supply across Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, and Polygon. And we were able to accomplish that with our bridge. So EverBridge, as Waso mentioned earlier, is a unique bridge because it doesn't utilize that mint and burn function. Rather, we have a lock and unlock mechanism. So what we did was when we went to our V2 contract, we created the same contract with the same supply on all three chains. And then we put all of the supply into the bridge, right? And so what people are able to do is if you're sending Rise BNB over to Rise Ethereum, how that works through our bridge is you send it over, say you send 100 Rise tokens from Rise BNB and you want 100 Rise tokens of Rise ETH, is when you send over the Rise BNB, those 100 tokens get locked into our EverRise BSC locker. And then what happens is on the Ethereum locker within EverBridge, 100 tokens are released to you. And so that's kind of how all of our chains are interconnected and how they're able to share a single supply.
Okay. Makes sense. Cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so before I open this up to our core team and deal flow committee, I'm curious on the staking part. And so like let's say I decide, or I am now, but become a investor of EverRise. And so if I wanted to stake my tokens, what incentivizes me to do so?
So there are a couple of things. What's really unique about our staking platform is one, how flexible it is. You're able to stake your tokens anywhere from 1 month to 12 months for different reward weights, right? And then we also have a protocol in there where you're actually able to withdraw a portion of those tokens early before your stake ends, just in case a life event comes up and you need the extra cash. Like we didn't want to create a staking platform that would tie people down in any way or another. On top of that, any rewards you get from staking can be withdrawn at any time without penalty. And I think, the way our staking protocol works is it's not tied to a certain percentage of, earn. I can't just tell you like, okay, if you stake for 12 months, your tokens will grow at a 12% like APR rate. That's not how it works. What happens is let me rewind. Let's say you staked on the Ethereum chain. So anytime the Ethereum Kraken, which is known as the buyback function, buys back Rise off the open market, a portion of what is bought back would get redistributed to you, depending on how much you staked and your weight there. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. So it sounds like to me, and I'll do some more due diligence in it, but based on the time that I would stake and lock my capital up, it depends on my ROI pretty much. That's what would determine is the time. Other than that, you can pull it out at any time, which I also think is advantageous for some people that may get into staking. that may need the funds. So I've seen, other projects, and just other, situations where people have staked and they can't pull that out. So I like the fail safe that you have there with that. But I'll take a step back for now. I think you've done a great job answering my questions. I'm sure I'll have some more. I normally have a lot, but this project, it's really well put together, and I think you've done, all of you, a really good job of explaining it at a high level. And I'm reading away. So with that being said, let me open this up to our deal flow committee and our core team. If any of you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hi, I have a question. You all
You
have a
all have a
lot
lot
of different functions on this token, and you touched earlier on, you're kind of preparing yourselves for regulation. Do you have an LLC formed or a corporation formed, and how are you preparing to respond to any potential kind of legal inquiries as far as all of these different functions and how they might be affected by regulations or existing laws?
Sure.
Yeah. So, oh, you want to take that?
Yeah, we could both take it. I'll start off by saying yes, we are a registered corporation in Singapore. We do have an in-house attorney who advises us on what to do, what not to do. One of the biggest things is there's no secret that eventually there's going to be a crackdown on DeFi. The SEC hasn't explicitly said what you can do, what you can't do. It's still a very gray area. So what we're doing right now is we're doing everything to protect ourselves for when that day comes where the SEC or any potential financial regulator comes in and says, what are you doing? Are you breaking the rules? Are you not breaking the rules? One of the things that will 100% break the rules are any tokens that have reflections to holders. So that was our initial V1 tokenomics system. We've completely removed that now with V2, which is a staking method if you want to get rewarded, which would fly in the regulatory body's point of view. Jen, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just also going to say, when we were setting up our corporation, we looked at a lot of different areas that we could set it up in, and we specifically and strategically chose Singapore because the regulations are incredibly favorable to DeFi projects. As long as our token isn't utilized as a currency, and as of right now, we have no intentions of really utilizing it as a currency, if that makes sense.
Thank you. I think that answers my questions.
Awesome. Thanks very much for asking.
actually, oh goodness, I have two questions. But I'll ask the second one later. The first one I wanted to ask was in reference to pre-sales. Do you, and if you, I wanted to know if you plan on having the ability or giving projects the ability to whitelist and are you going to give projects the ability to have two tiers? That's a problem that we have run into with different projects where they want to give two tiers, like they want to give maybe a 1.5 multiplier and then a double, two times, and then they're not able to do that. So are you guys working on that? And if not, would that be something that you would consider?
So right now, in terms of development of our dApps and the pre-launch platform EverSale, it's something that we haven't fully dug into yet, but it's definitely something that we'll be taking into consideration for our pre-sale platform.
Yeah, the biggest thing of the pre-sale platform that we want to sort of mention is that the main takeaway from it is that we're not going to be taking tokens from the project. You have things like Pink Sale and DX Sale and whatnot. They all take a percentage of the tokens, which it might not seem like a lot at the time, but I mean, even if you're giving 0.5% of your supply, that can quickly turn into a lot. And you see how a lot of these launches go. I mean, they moon quickly, and a lot of the times what happens is that these platforms dump the tokens on the holders, which is something that we wanted to stop. The pre-sale platform will also integrate with Everlock, which is the initial liquidity locker, which would be based on community voting. So they will work hand in hand. It hasn't been developed as of yet. I mean, we have all the initial plans in place. We've just released our migration and staking dApps, as well as the bridge. So we are focusing on building the wallet next. I know that's currently in development. Should be early Q1, mid Q1. We'll keep everyone posted on that. But as far as the pre-sale platform and the liquidity locker, it will be coming later down the line. But I do want to mention that there is an MVP version of Everlock enabled right now in the Everown dApp, which is the smart contract locker. So what it will do there is it actually locks all the newly generated liquidity so that it cannot be dumped or secretly sold off on the holders.
Makes sense. I think what Kay was referring to is like more of the functionality, and it sounds like it's still in development now. But what she's saying is like we've had other platforms that we've tried to use, right? And so the problem was not only do they take tokens, right? So I mean that's issue number one when you're doing the pre-sales, but they had a functionality issue with having essentially 2 rounds, right? It can only be like fill the pre-sale, the hard cap and the soft cap. The soft cap's met, then it goes with Unicrypt, but they couldn't do it 2 rounds, right? So I think that's what she was referring to. Maybe during that development, that's something to look at as projects are aiming to have a couple rounds in their pre-sales, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll be able to implement something like that, no problem. We can do 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds. I mean, we like to build things that are completely customizable for a project. So I mean, something like that would be pretty simple to do, and we'll execute it the right way in the sense that it'll work properly with Everlock and everything that we have going on. But that's a bridge we'll cross when we get there. I don't want to speak too early about it, but I mean, I think that's pretty necessary to have in a pre-sale platform.
Got it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else on our deal flow committee or maybe our core team have any questions? Well, it seems like you guys put all the part. Maybe.
No, I asked JP's question since no one else is asking a question. He's just not able to speak right now, but JP and our deal flow committee wanted to know if you can just explain the chart. He's saying there's like a downward trend, and he said, it seems that you guys have an amazing solution, for your platform where you're ready to launch tokens. So he was kind of wondering, what is missing, what's going on with the price action, and how many customers do you have so far? But I think you guys already answered that. I think Jen answered that. So basically he wants to know, can you explain what's happening with the chart, the price action, and also he wanted to compliment, that you guys do look like you have an amazing solution as far as with launching tokens, and what do you guys think might be missing, I guess?
For us, especially, everyone that's on staff and on core, the way we look at it is it's really up to the market to determine the price, right? We're here to build innovative projects that work and that have utility and function within this space. And that's what we're going to continue to focus on. What I will say is, if you go and look at our V1 chart, we were about 2 months ago in the 2s, and now we're in the 9s, 10s, and that's just in 2 months. So I think really it's kind of like zoom out. I think all in all, overall, the crypto market and sorry, I'm getting a crazy echo. But overall, the crypto market's in a downtrend, and it's been really incredible seeing how steady the RISE chart has been holding over the past couple of weeks. And I really attribute that to 47% of our supply being staked for 9 months. I know that probably doesn't directly answer your question, but that's really where our stance is when it comes to commenting on price and whatnot.
Yeah, I just want to add to that as well, because you mentioned you were interested in the pre-sale platform or whatnot, but that's an upcoming product. We have working products already that have been developed and deployed that have customers already, like Everown. We're securing over 23 smart contracts right now that are locked in Everown and can only be unlocked by a community's vote. These are projects that want to display additional levels of transparency and safety to their investors by saying, hey, look, we're not going to renounce our contract because that's foolish, but we're going to lock it so that we can't go and turn off the opportunity to sell or change the taxes or, drain the liquidity, things like that. So that's our priority right now, is keeping everybody safe. Our company's mission, our mission statement is essentially to, as Wasso said, empower honest developers and protect investors. So the Eversale and Everlock dApps will come, but the focus right now is on the security dApps that we do have available that are first to market and have not been essentially cloned as of yet because they're so innovative.
And I'll just to add on to those last couple of points, Kay, I think part of what you were asking was, what do we think is missing? I think one of the things is, because EverRise is a pretty advanced project, there is a huge gap in terms of education, right? Like, there's not that many people in the world that are invested in crypto. I think right now, global average is about 3.9% of folks are invested in a cryptocurrency in one way or another. And then you get into DeFi, and that's even more segmented, right? And to really understand the potential and the utility and use cases of EverRise, it requires someone to have a pretty strong understanding of the fundamentals in DeFi. So what we're doing on our end is, we're creating a ton of educational materials in the form of written blog posts as well as videos, just going over basic DeFi 101 topics. Because I think, when I want EverRise to get to a point where, when people are doing due diligence, it's not just asking like, oh, is liquidity locked? How long is liquidity locked for? Or is the contract renounced? We want to get to a point where people are asking like, hey, what happens with the newly generated liquidity in your token and project? Because oftentimes, a lot of people don't realize this, but outside of that initial liquidity lock that becomes locked, there's newly generated liquidity that project developers are able to dump. We've seen it happen before in this space, and they're able to do it without a lot of people noticing because they're doing it in such small amounts. But ultimately, like, that liquidity belongs to the community. That's money that you guys have invested into the project. And so bridging the gap in terms of education and showing the use case and the real world need for what we're building is one of the areas that we're also looking at.
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that answer. And that is one of the things that I did state when JP asked that question, or I asked him, I said, well, isn't that kind of typical based on the current market conditions? So that is something that I brought up. But he did want me to let you all know that afterwards he did end up buying. And so he just wanted me to state that for him.
Oh, well, thank you for letting us know. And yeah, thank you for the support. It really means a lot.
And I was going to add on too, Jen, about the education. I think that's prudent to bring that aspect to DeFi, simply because what you need to attract, in my opinion, is that smart capital, right? The savvy investors that do exist in the DeFi. And while you create that content that is the education, to really start schooling some of these people that your next Inu coin isn't necessarily going to run as long, as far as a real project, like something like this, right? So, I can look at a chart like this and totally understand why you're at where you're at, being an actual real project, right? And it's a weird thing that happens in this sector. I come from more traditional investing in, PE and VC. So, having something real there, those are the things that do really well. And it seems sometimes to be the opposite in DeFi, at least in terms of time, right? So I just want to compliment, you on taking that action and looking at the education, because it does need to happen. And yeah, you're right. Providing extra security layers, making it an easier barrier for people in the understanding terms, I think is all going to be advantageous to the project. But anyhow, I'll step back now. Say that.
Hey guys, it's Michael. I have a question.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, I'm curious to know kind of about your vetting process for these projects that would be using your services. Do you guys have a designated group, platform, kind of protocol for going about that means? Like how
Yeah.
are you directing that to ensure, that the project is mitigating risk for people wanting to invest?
Absolutely. So, I mean, one of the big things about a project coming onto Everone is not anybody can just sign up and say, "Hey guys, we're in Everone." One of the things that we do require is, number one, an audit. Number two, they need to dox to us. It doesn't need to be public, but we need to have their identity on file just in case something goes wrong. So it's just another layer of security that we do provide. And we are transparent about it. Everyone knows that any project that is on Everone is doxed, at least to us, and that they are audited. That way, if anything sketchy does happen, we have fingers to point. We know where to point the fingers at, essentially.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
and just sorry, Michael, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did
You're
just
fine.
want to add on that we do have 3 different DeFi auditing partners. One is a KYC specific partner, so that way if a project doesn't want to dox to us, they're actually able to dox to a reputable third party where that information is held. And then we have 2 smart contract audit partners. The other thing is our smart contract, our V1 contract was audited by CertiK as well as TechRate, and our V2 contract is still undergoing an audit with CertiK. And the only reason why that's taking so long is because they're actually critically looking at the Everone platform. And there's a lot of discussions right now about removing the centralization privilege risk that you see so often on smart contracts that are audited by CertiK because we are locked in Everone. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes, and I'm really proud to say that CertiK has come into our community chat multiple times and have just applauded us on the ingenuity of our smart contract, and mentioning that they haven't quite seen a smart contract as complex as ours before.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really awesome to hear. I think that for those listening and those that will be listening, it should really instill a sense of confidence in the individuals kind of pursuing your ecosystem. So for that vetting process, so you guys have a KYC company if they don't want to dox to you guys. You also have 2 audit companies that for smart contracts. Do you guys have say a team of 20, 30, even 10 people to actually kind of dive deep and build that relationship so it's not as, I don't know, quote unquote cold for these projects to be able to really get their name out and really build those relationships within DeFi?
Yeah, I would say right now one of the things that we're doing is expanding our business development team, and it's to do that exact point. So that way we're always in contact with the projects that come on board. If they ever need anything, we're readily available. It's already like that, but we're getting to a point where we do need to scale those efforts up. And I do want to add that our development team actually does a audit of the smart contract themselves, where they do a quick scan just to make sure that the contract that's being submitted isn't a honeypot or there isn't anything that is alarming or has a red flag sticking in it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. It's definitely something really great to hear. I'd like to kind of chat offline, kind of pick your brain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. My DMs are always open.
Likewise, looking forward to it, Michael.
Yeah, I have a question. This is Jason.
Hey, Jason.
So, how's it going?
Good, thank you. And yourself?
Good, good. Just got home from work. So I see here that you guys have some articles out on Yahoo Finance and Bitcoin.com, and I was just curious, do you guys still plan on releasing more articles? And if so, who do you plan on reaching with these articles? Is it going to be investors out of DeFi? Are you going to stick with the DeFi space? Are you trying to look for larger or smarter investors?
You know, my position on this is right now, until we're on a couple more centralized exchanges where it is easier for a typical everyday retail investor who may not know so much about crypto or DeFi to invest in the token, is to stay focused on the crypto endemic platforms. So we still do plan on releasing press. Press is a part of our standing marketing strategy. So you'll see more articles coming from people like Cointelegraph, Bitcoin.com, CoinDesk. And that's kind of really where I want to focus our attention when it comes to press, is go where our audience is, go where people we know who are interested in crypto or high frequency crypto traders are. And it's really because of that education gap, right? Until we can really close that education gap, we need to kind of be smart with how we're spending our marketing funds.
That does make a lot of sense. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for the question.
I have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. So my first question, and maybe you did say this and I missed it, but was how big the team was. And then my second question is, was there a pre-sale back in June when you launched? And is there any vesting that's ending soon? It looks like you're right around that sort of 6-month-ish mark. And I was just curious if there was a pre-sale, what the vesting schedule was on that. And I know when sometimes those times end, you get big drops in the price.
Yep. So I'll take
so what
in here from the beginning. I can probably address the pre-sale part. Jen, if you want to talk about the team quickly, and then I'll jump into it.
Yeah, that sounds good. As of right now, we have 14 members on staff and over 39 moderators worldwide. So we're still a pretty small team, but what's been really great is we're very nimble and we all wear multiple hats. This will be something that, we'll scale our team up as we see the need for it. I think a lot of issues that I've seen with startups before is they burn through most of their runway scaling up way too quickly. And all of a sudden they have, 80 employees, but no runway to pay them or to continue development. But that's kind of the overall general broad strokes on our staff. And TJ, I'll let you talk about the pre-sale.
Yeah, for sure. So the pre-sale back in June, there was no vesting. It was a 1 BNB buy maximum at the time. If you look back at the Binance Smart Chain chart, you'll see that within the first 2-3 days, the price shot up and it shot right back down. The majority of the pre-sale people who were in it for a pump and dump were out. Since then, it's been pretty steady. I don't like to talk about the price too much, obviously, because we're not focused too much on the price. But as far as your question about vesting ending soon, there is nothing ending soon. There was no vest, so everything is in circulation right now.
Awesome. That answers my question. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your question.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hello. I have a quick question. Are you guys
Hey.
able to still add on to your ecosystem with more like chains, like say Phantom, AVAX, just some of the other chains too, if you decide to?
Yeah, so the way we would go, depending on what chain it is, the way we want to go to any major chain is with balanced liquidity pools. So when the time comes for us to expand and add our 4th chain or our 5th chain, we would initiate a vote with the community to unlock some of the liquidity from all 3 chains to put it into the new chain. In terms of additional chains that we're looking at expanding to, we are in conversations with a ton of mainnet's core teams, which is really, really exciting. Some of those chains include Avalanche as well as Kronos. And it will be something that we would likely look at doing at some point next year. Right now, our focus in terms of development is, one, redoing the UX and UI on our current existing dApps. We have noticed there's a lot of places where we're actually able to streamline that experience much more. So that's what the development team is focused on. And once we get back in the new year, we'll resume development on the rest of our ecosystem and pushing adoption on the mainnets we're currently available on, and then looking ahead to expand to more chains.
Awesome. I appreciate answering it.
Of course. Yeah, like our goal is to secure DeFi, and DeFi is a lot bigger than just Binance, Ethereum, and Polygon. And so ultimately we want EverRise to eventually be on any major blockchain with our ecosystem.
Well, to that, Jen, I think something that really rings true, not only for what you guys are doing, but kind of that like symbiotic, synergistic relationship that's going on, is that you're trying to mitigate the risk of DeFi for the global population, which means that you're trying to find a way to make mass adoption more consumer friendly by lowering that barrier to entry. And ultimately, it's kind of like two sides to the same coin, two communities working on really creating that safety in the sector. So the fact that you guys are aiming to be on every chain possible really just shows how committed you are to really helping to secure the strategic partnerships in order to accomplish that for the community at large.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think something that you touched upon is really important. I just want to call it out. It's like there are so many rug pulls, honeypots, liquidity drains, and just straight up scams and fraud that we're seeing in the space right now. And the reality is we are all so early in DeFi. But if we want DeFi to be something that's adopted by the masses, like there needs to be some sort of guardrails in place where, everyday people aren't coming in and investing maybe a couple $100s, which may not seem like a lot to some folks, but for some people, like that's the extra money that, puts food on the table, that feeds their family. Like these investors, like there's so much education to be done. The space is still the wild west, but they shouldn't, when they come into the space, they shouldn't be entering a space where there's like a 90% chance that the $100 that they invest is going to go to zero. And I think that comes with more security and technological assurances and, leveraging ecosystems like ours.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, go ahead, Susie. I know you've been waiting.
Thanks, Michael. I just wanted to ask, you guys have talked over so many different things. I didn't know if you'd actually talked about the exact tokenomics and whether or not that the rise was deflationary.
Yeah, I'll jump on this question. So the V1 contract was hyperdeflationary. V2 is not hyperdeflationary. It's a fixed supply. So the tokenomics on any DEX are 2% goes to the project sustainability wallet, which allows us to, pay for marketing, develop our dApps, develop our website, things like that. And then the 4% tax goes to the stakers. So whenever there is a buyback done, those funds are sent directly to the staking contracts. So depending on how long you're staked and how much you're staking, you'll get a proportionate balance. But those are the only tokenomics that we have.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your answer.
You're welcome, Susie. Thank you very much.
Awesome. I think that may do it for all of our questions. Does anybody else, maybe on our core team or our deal flow committee, have a question? Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. Jen, TJ, thank you both for coming on tonight and really giving us that, high level presentation. That's something that we look for in terms of investing is strong teams. And I think that, this project has a strong team, just candidly. From hearing you speak, looking at what you're building, what you've built so far, I certainly see the road and I like it. So at this point, generally, we will conclude the call and then we'll move on to our phase where as a community, we discuss the project and then we place our votes on it to make it an official pick of our community and collective. But before we part ways, again, I just want to say thank you for coming on tonight. You did an amazing job. I want to thank the EverRise community for coming out tonight as well, and hope that you enjoyed the AMA, and we're looking forward to sharing this material with you across all platforms.
Thank you very much for
Yeah,
having me.
and
We appreciate it. And I do want to say these were some great questions. We do a lot of AMAs, and a lot of questions are pretty generic sometimes, but you guys dove deep, so that's something that I truly appreciate.
We get that a lot sometimes. So yeah, we tend to go in, and I'm sure honestly there will be more. So it wouldn't surprise me if Michael or myself, Kay, or anybody on our team would ping you probably with just a question here and there. Just drop it in the group chat that we have. But overall, I think that you did an amazing job again. At a high level, just answering it before I could even ask questions. So that's something I appreciate. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Taylor. Our DMs are always open. You can message the group chat. You can message us. That goes for anybody in here. And I forgot to mention something that I do want to add. All the dApps that we've developed and are developing, we do in-house. We don't outsource it to someone else and put our name on it. I think our lead developer Suresh is just brilliant. And we're all thankful that we get to work with him every day, and we're excited to release even more products than what we've announced already. Obviously, we're going to get these out the gate first, but the opportunities don't end. We have a motto here that if we want something, we build it, and that's proven true time and time again.
yeah, and I just wanted to echo TJ. Thank you so much for having us. I really enjoyed this AMA, and I enjoyed the critical questions that you guys asked. It was an absolute pleasure tonight. So thank you for having us. And happy holidays, everyone. Can we believe that 2021 is almost over?
Tell me about it. Where it's 2022, the next thing you're gonna know, it's 2023, and we're not even at Christmas yet. So you slow down, okay? We're we'll get to Christmas first, and then we'll get there. But yeah, no, it's everybody happy holidays. And Jen, thank you. We'll look forward to our response, and we'll get that over to you along with this recording. And then furthermore, down the road, right? Like we love to do follow-up AMAs, kind of where we AMA'd you at and then where you ended up. So 6 months from now, I'm hoping to host an AMA with this team and really show what all we've built, right, as community and investors and just everything. So it's a really exciting process, and I'm glad that you appreciate it. So with that being said, that concludes our AMA for tonight. We'll kill the recording, and then we'll move forward with our due diligence and post a poll here soon. Okay.